Hi everyone, this is For the Love of Comics and a very warm welcome to episode 10 of our multi-part bookshelf tours. This is a viewer-requested series of videos in which we look at our entire comics collection shelf by shelf, video by video. We've covered 9 bookshelves full of comics so far in 9 videos, and you can find these along with an introductory video in this playlist linked above. To that, today we're going to add shelf 10, which is a relatively smaller shelf compared to some of the others, but contains some of my all-time favorites. I don't think this video is going to take very long, primarily because a lot of the books on this shelf are part of a series, so I'll be covering them in one go. It's also because I've made specific videos on a couple of these books, and the ones that I haven't, I want to make specialized videos in the future. Maybe you can help me determine which one I should get to first. With all that preamble out of the way, let's dive right into shelf number 10. The first books on the top shelf are the annual anthology, The Best American Comics, published by Houghton Mifflin. This is an annual series featuring a guest editor every year and collects a selection of the year's finest comics in the opinion of the editorial board for that year. As an anthology series, this is an extremely formative and important one for me. I cannot count how many creators as well as publishers, magazines, journals I have gotten to know about because of this series. The first volume came out in 2006 and featured Harvey Pekar as the guest editor. And although I was familiar with people like Chris Ware and Art Spiegelman and the brothers Hernandez, this book introduced me to Anders Nielsen, Lily Carey, David Lasky, Ben Catchor. I'd heard of Alison Bechdel but not read anything by her until this extract from Dykes to Watch Out For. Joe Sacco, of course, I was familiar with, but Brunetti, David Heatley, Jessica Abel, and of course Rick Geary all came to me first from this one volume, The Best American Comics 2006, edited by Harvey Pekar. This is actually not a volume of Best American Comics. This is McSweeney's Quarterly Concern, issue 13. McSweeney's was a literary magazine, a quarterly, which in issue 13 made an all-comics issue, made it hardcover with one of those fold-out covers by Chris Ware, like we saw on the Jimmy Corrigan hardcover. McSweeney's 13 had a lot of overlap with The Best American 2006, and together they gave me a really strong foundation of which creators I wanted to read more of. Best American Comics 2007 with a cover by David Heatley and guest edited by Chris Ware. Best American Comics 2008, edited by Linda Barry. This, I think, is the volume that introduced me to Jean Luen Yang and American Born Chinese, among others. Best American Comics 2009, guest edited by Charles Burns. Best American Comics 2010, edited by Neil Gaiman. Best American Comics 2011, edited by Alison Bechdel. Best American Comics 2012, edited by Françoise Mouly. And Best American Comics 2013, edited by Jeff Smith. After 2013, I kind of stopped getting this series, primarily because I was getting cheap library copies before that, and they seemed to dry up for some reason, but also because I found a lot of repeats. I saw the same creators sort of showing up over and over again. Neil Gaiman and Jeff Smith made some exceptions by having some more mainstream comics in there. And really, I mean, this is a series to read to discover indie creators and literary comics, if you like that phrase. But I'd also gotten to the point by 2013 where I was following these individual creators and reading their books or journals as they came out, and reading the series felt a little bit like highlighting people I already knew about. Still, it took about 7 years to get to that position, and I did pick up a used copy of The Best American Comics 2016, edited by Ross Shast, whose Why Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant was just a phenomenal comic in my opinion. And I hope to make up the gap between 13 and 16 as well as get the next volumes, just to see if there are different creators being spotlighted. There are of course new creators and debut creations that are featured in these anthologies as well, and like most anthologies they have hits and misses, but as a primer on independent American comics, I think these volumes are just invaluable. Then we have 4 volumes of Queen and Country, the definitive edition. This is a great spy series by Greg Rucka and I think different artists. I've only read volumes 1 and 2, but I've been very impressed with it. I didn't have 3 and 4 and then went away from the series. but I was really struck by the appealing, cool, yet realistic view of spies and espionage. In particular, bureaucracy and paperwork and the hoops you have to jump through officially in order to be a spy were highlighted in this series in a way that I haven't seen in comics before. Volumes 1 through 4 collect the main series. There are spin-offs and sequel series as well. I need to read these two and then see if I want to continue into the other stories. And then we have here a collection of hardcovers from Fantagraphics by Jason, one of my favorite writer-artists currently working. I love almost everything I've read of his. You've seen the single Fantagraphics volumes on shelf 1 of Jason that I have, and a lot of these hardcovers are actually collections, compilations of some of those. However, some are standalone. So in no particular order, here's Low Moon, Almost Silent, collecting some of his earliest works. His most recent work, On the Camino, which is also his first autobiographical and non-fiction work that I've read. If You Steal, What I Did, another collection of 4 or 5 stories, I believe. Lost Cat, a full-length complete story, this one a private eye detective story. And Athos in America. These are beautiful stories. Jason is a terrific artist who conjures some real pathos as well as real genuine laughs from some very bizarre situations. He's also an expert in almost all kinds of genres. He seems to be as big a fan of B-monster movies from the 1950s as he is of European literature, as he is of zombie films, and he mashes them all together in his stories in a very peculiar and wonderful way. I really want to do a series on Jason. There's just so much to say and so much to look at that I've got to figure it out. Let me know if you'd like a closer look at any of these, and if you want a different video specifically on the best American comics, or on Jason, or on Queen and Country. Maybe that'll be the impetus for me to finish the last 2 volumes. After Jason on the first row, we've got Usagi Yojimbo on the second row, another one of my all-time favorites. But first, a copy of Raymond Briggs's When the Wind Blows. We looked at Gentleman Jim on shelf 9, but When the Wind Blows is really the comic that introduced me to Raymond Briggs and to the genius of his simple cartooning. This is a devastating story about nuclear holocaust and an old couple in the English countryside, which is not just heartbreaking, but also very scary. I'd mentioned earlier that Raymond Briggs is the equal of Will Eisner to many as far as his groundbreaking comics work is concerned. Then we have Usagi Yojimbo, the Usagi Yojimbo Saga, the omnibus collections from Dark Horse Comics. This is volume 1 in paperback. I don't have the limited edition hardcover of volume 1. That's extremely hard to find as well right now. And then volumes 2, which is supposed to be here, but it's been borrowed by a friend who finished 1 and then had to have 2 immediately. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, as well as the Usagi Yojimbo Saga Legends. All of these volumes are collected in a special video dedicated to them, so check that out, linked in the top corner of your screen if you're interested. And on this side, we have the remnants of my manga collection. It's a small collection anyway. You've seen most of it on shelf 8. And this, apart from the Akira single issues and box sets that we've seen in other shelves, is all I have of Japanese comics. This is Death Note, a series that I really enjoyed. I'd originally borrowed and read it from a friend in multiple trade paperbacks, and I really enjoyed it and I wanted it for myself. And I was glad to pick up these copies of the Black edition. Each volume contains 2 of the original volumes in this very handsome and attractive black and white packaging, including a black bleed for the pages, which gives the whole thing an appropriately somber feeling. This is a thrilling series made up mainly of conversation and thinking. It's very unlike most other comics I know, manga or otherwise. It's a cat and mouse game that really focuses on the deliberations, and the twists and turns are very satisfying. Volume 1 is with a friend, but I've got volumes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which make up the total of the 12 volumes of Death Note. And underneath that, we have 3 Junji Ito books. This is Fragments of Horror, a collection of short stories, the complete Uzumaki, which is truly terrifying, and Tomie. To these, I'll be adding Frankenstein, which I showed in my new acquisitions for March 2019 video. And I think I'm missing one more book, Gyo, I think is the name, as part of the Junji Ito series from Viz Media in English. The third row features mainly my Fantagraphics Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck collections, both from Karl Barks and Don Rosa. After Jason and Usagi Yojimbo in the previous shelves, Uncle Scrooge really makes this a special shelf, although it doesn't have that much range. What it does have are some of my absolute all-time favorites. So right over here, we have volumes 1 and 2 of the Don Rosa library, starting with The Son of the Sun, Volume 1, and Return to Plain Awful, the Don Rosa Library, Volume 2. The box set was sold out by the time I was able to get my hands on them, but I was lucky enough to get the box sets of Volumes 2 and 3, The Last of the Clan MacDuck and Treasure Under Glass, as well as the box set for Volumes 5 and 6, The Universal Solvent and The Richest Duck in the World. Then we have the volumes of the Karl Barks library, the complete Karl Barks being published by Fantagraphics. And the earliest ones I had collected, I had covered in plastic due to them having white covers, and I didn't want them to get dirty, and the dust on the plastic makes me think it was a good idea, but I just don't like the way books look when they're covered in plastic. It's purely functional, and I understand that, and it preserves the book inside, but I mean, this later volume, I just keep out like that, dust off. And I far prefer to have it this way. I think I'm going to get rid of these plastic covers soon. Anyway, The Seven Cities of Gold, Only a Poor Old Man, The Old Castle Secret, The Pixelated Parrot, which I just picked up last year, Trick or Treat, Lost in the Andes, and my latest acquisition, The Lost Crown of Genghis Khan. There are 2, maybe 3 volumes of Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge from Karl Barks from Fantagraphics that I'm still missing, that I need to really fill in this collection. I think I was waiting to see if I could get my hands on a box set like these, which contains Lost in the Andes and Trail of the Unicorn. The chronological box sets, they do bring these out in limited editions, but the price difference between buying them individually and getting them in a box set is so high, at least where I am, that I think I'm just going to go for the single volumes and not worry about the box sets too much. This here is Longform, an anthology of graphic narratives. It says Volume 1. This is the debut issue of Longform, edited by Shorbajit Sen, Deb Kumar Mitra, Shekhar Kumar, and Pinaki De. This is an anthology of Indian indie comics that is just spectacular, some of them by people who've never made comics before. This is really a labor of love for the editorial team who've put this together, and it is a very impressive and eye-opening collection. For anyone interested in the possibilities of Indian indie comics, Longform is required reading, published by HarperCollins India. And then finally, we have the Usagi Yojimbo Special Edition hardcover box set from Fantagraphics. I've also dedicated a video completely to this box set, which you can find linked up in the top corner of your screen. And finally, on the bottom shelf, there is Kabuki by David Mack from Dark Horse, the Deluxe Edition Volume 1. This is an old, tattered, slightly copy that I picked up, but for a very good price, given the fantastic art and production this book contains. And then we have some books that viewers have seen on other shelves before. Invincible, the Ultimate Collection, and Scalp, the Deluxe Edition, used to be on other shelves. They've been moved here to make room for other things over there. That's sort of one of the problems with taking so long to go through my entire collection, that things will be changing and coming in and out of shelves that I've already covered or getting to later. The bottom shelf is also going to take the new Miyazaki art books that I showed in my last video. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at shelf 10 of our complete comics collection. As always, leave me all your questions, comments, recommendations, and suggestions below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.